Bhaktivedanta Swami Nidinamini. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatari. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gauravakta. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Ukam karoti vachalam pangam langayate giram yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurum Vinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So Hare Krishna devotees, welcome to our 18 days, 18 chapter session. So today we're going to take chapter 11, which is an interesting chapter. So before we do that, let's just quickly review what we learned yesterday in chapter 10. So even chapter 10 has 4 sections. In chapter 9, Krishna has already proclaimed that his bhaktas are great. And just when Arjuna thinks, okay, if bhaktas are the greatest, then the Bhagavad Gita should have ended there. But Krishna says, no, I'm going to expand a little bit more. And in the 10th chapter, we came across the Chaturshloke Gita. The Gita, the essence of the Gita summarized in shlokas 8, 9, 10, and 11, where the Lord says, I'm the source of everything. But actually this chapter begins with the Lord saying, you know, the Devatas don't understand me and the Rishis don't understand me. And the reason for that is I am the source of both the Devatas and the Maharishis. Of course, the Lord also says that he is the source of all things, material and spiritual. The Lord is the source. So the Lord is the reason and the cause for everything. And hence Krishna says, because I am the source of everything, it's not possible for the created to understand the creator. So the Devatas are very, very powerful Jivatmas. They are so powerful, but still they also get bewildered. We saw 2 examples of Lord Brahma and Indradev. Both of them questioning whether this little boy can actually be the Supreme Lord. And they find out that indeed he is. They try to challenge him in different ways. Of course, although Brahma doesn't try to harm the calves or the little boys, still, because Brahma has separated the Lord from his devotees, it causes the Lord a great deal of anxiety to be separated from his devotees. So when you read the Srimad Bhagavatam, in this Brahma Vimohan Leela, Lord Brahma actually, for many shlokas, glorifies the Lord because he knows that he has committed a grave offense by separating the Lord, his devotees. Whereas if you come to the Giriraj Govardhan Leela, where the Lord hoists Giriraj Govardhan on the little finger of his left hand for 7 days, even though Indra actually tries to harm the devotees of the Lord, still, because Indra brought all of the Brajavasis under one place who were all simultaneously taking shelter of the Lord was quite pleased. And when you read the Bhagavatam on this Govardhan Leela, you will see that there are not too many shlokas attributed to Indradev when he comes and begs for forgiveness. He just does Abhishek of the Lord, brings Mother Surabhi with him, and it's done. And the Lord says, don't do this again. So the Lord simply tells Indra, this, don't do this again. So the Lord is always looking out for his devotees, you know. It doesn't matter how much he is looking out for his devotees. So even the devotees of the Lord are also always looking out for the benefit of the Jivatmas. And in that regard, I heard a pastime yesterday that I want to share with you. So there was an old man sitting in a shop and he was gossiping, you know, talking about material things, how to make money, how to save money, how to invest money, etc. And our veritable traveling devotee called Narada Muni tells him, hey, you're an old man now. Why don't you do some bhajan? Your clock is ticking and you're about to face death soon. Why don't you do your bhajans now? Why are you engaged in such mundane talk? So that's what sometimes devotees do. They come and shake us up and try to wake us up, but we're not always ready to hear them. So this old man tells Narada Muni, hey, you, who the heck are you? Just get out from here. And imagine somebody telling Narada Muni, get out of here. Certainly nothing good can come out of it. So Narada Muni tells him, you wait, you watch, I'm going to make you give up your family and start doing bhajan. And the man said, yeah, try really hard. It's not going to work out. I'm not interested in your pravachan to do bhajan and chant the holy names of the Lord, etc. So now when the devotee has taken a vow that they will make somebody else do bhajan, then definitely a pure devotee like Narada Muni would have been successful, right? Do you think he was successful? Do you think Narada Muni was successful in getting this elderly man to start his bhajan? Yes. How many of you think Narada Muni was successful? You can put your response in the chat. Yes. Okay. So here's what happens. Okay, most of you say yes, Narada Muni was successful. So here's what happens. The next day morning, the older man is getting ready to go take bath in the Ganges. And he was telling his sons, I'll be back as usual. I'll go take my bath and come back. And the sons say, okay, fine. So, but within 10-15 minutes, the father has come back. The father comes back and tells his sons, I saw an imposter out there. He was pretending to be me, And the sons ask, why did you come back so soon? You couldn't have taken a bath so quickly. And to which the father responds, well, the reason is because I found out there's somebody who looks just like me. And he's pretending to me, and I'm afraid he doesn't have the best intent for my sons. He may just dupe you out of your wealth. So be very careful. I'm going to go inside and hide. When he comes, no matter what he says, please do not let him inside the house. Chase him away. Tell him you don't care. Tell him that he's not your father, and tell him to just get out. So this was Narada Muni in the disguise of the father who had entered the house and told the sons this, saying there's somebody pretending to be me. So he's just going to try and dupe you. So please avoid falling into his trap. So the real father comes and knocks on the door. He doesn't even have to knock on the door because the 4 sons are ready with sticks, telling him, get out of here. He says, what do you mean, get out of here? I'm your father. Are you fools? They say, yeah, we've been warned that you will come here saying that you are our father. But you are not our father. You are just our imposter. Our real father is already inside. He's taking rest. So get out of here. And the real father was so stunned and surprised. He didn't know what to do. He just stood there waiting and weeping that his sons had kicked him out. Just like that. One minute he was their loving father, next minute he was booted out of the house. So the sons lock the door and go back inside. But this old man, the father, is still waiting outside, wondering what had happened here. How come his sons didn't recognize him? How come his sons suddenly don't care for him? And all of a sudden they're saying, you are not our father. Get out of this house. You're an old man and don't try to think you can fool us. So what happens is, as the sons lock the door, Narada Muni, who's pretending to be the father, comes out of the house and he tells the old man, see, I told you I'll make you do bhajan, and here is how I got you to do bhajan. Now at least do you understand? Your sons don't care for you. So easily they rejected you. So don't be too attached to your sons. You go out there and do your bhajan like I instructed you to. So anytime a pure devotee wants to get you to do bhajan, they'll figure out a way how to get it done. Yeah. I think yesterday there was a question, how do you make sure that those who may be resisting or who may not be ready, how do you influence them and convince them that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead and they should chant the holy names of the Lord? And I said, well, the only thing that we can do is to go in front of the Lord and pray for them. So the Lord is always concerned about his devotees. He's always protecting his devotees. And even with Indra, he was thinking, this man is getting too proud, and if he gets even more proud, he's going to lose his position. It's best that I do what I can to protect him. And therefore, the Lord brings Indradev a couple of notches down to let him know. So, we also saw that the Lord forgives us if we wrong him, but the Lord doesn't forgive us if we wrong his devotees. And in this particular pastime, it was really between Ambarish Maharaj and Durvasa Muni in relation to the Ekadasi Vrat. What is actually considered breaking the fast and what is considered not breaking the fast. So Ambarish Maharaj, a pure devotee of the Lord, was very respectful of Durvasa Muni. He didn't offend him in any way. He was mistaken. So therefore the Sudarshan Chakra goes running after Durvasa Muni, and then Durvasa Muni is running for his life until the Lord says, you have to go and fall at the feet of my devotee, because actually what you did was a great offense to my devotee. How can you raise a weapon against my devotee? Out of anger, that way. So that's what Durvasa Muni was forced to do. He came and fell at the feet of Ambarish Maharaj, and that's when the Sudarshan Chakra goes back. So the Lord is ready to forgive us if we have wronged him, but the Lord does not get involved in forgiveness when we have wronged his devotee. That means if we have wronged someone, the Lord expects us to go to them and beg for forgiveness. You cannot go to the Lord and beg for forgiveness. You have to go to the person who you wronged and begged for their forgiveness. So in Shloka number 8, the Lord says he is the source of everything material and spiritual. And therefore, we are deeply indebted to the Lord, because were the Lord not the source of everything, then we wouldn't be able to accomplish even the smallest thing like breathing properly or making sure that our food is actually getting digested, etc. So many things that the Lord is doing without your even being aware of it. So that's what we read in the 8th shloka. And then in the 9th, 10th, and 10th shlokas, the Lord is reiterating what his devotees are always doing. They're always discussing about him. They are engaged in devotional service, and in this way they are experiencing transcendental bliss. And then the Lord talks about how he reciprocates with them, because they are performing unmotivated, uninterrupted. Ahaituki apratihata. That's the 2 terms used in the Nectar of Devotion. Ahaituki apratihata means without motivation, without interruption. If one worships Krishna, then Krishna says, I myself, due to my causeless mercy, I remove all of the darkness of ignorance by shining the bright lamp of knowledge. And how does the Lord do that? He does that through his presence within that particular Jivatma. as the super soul. So then Arjuna also proclaims that Krishna is the Supreme Lord. And he has heard the same proclamation being made by Devala, Asita, Vyasadeva, etc. And then he says, my dear Lord, you yourself are saying that you are the Supreme Lord. So I accept it. And then out of curiosity and out of humbleness, Arjuna says, I'd like to see some of this opulence, And with that, there is a beautiful set of verses where the Lord talks about his opulences, how he pervades everything, he is everywhere, and he is in everything. And then this particular chapter 10, concludes with Krishna saying, but what need is there, Arjuna, for you to know about all of these details? Just with a single fragment of myself, I'm maintaining all of the universes. And we concluded by saying that means if just a small percentage of Krishna's energy is actually being utilized, or potency is actually being utilized to run this entire cosmos, what is Krishna doing with the rest of his potency? He is actually using that potency to enjoy pastimes with his devotees in the spiritual world. So, hence, Krishna concludes by saying that you really will not be able to fathom or conceive of how exactly I am the Supreme Lord. And we concluded by saying that the 10th chapter, the single word summary was Bhakta. Yes. The opulence, Krishna talks about his opulences. But the opulence that is most dear to him is the bhaktas, his own devotees. Krishna is very, very caring for his devotees. So now that Krishna has talked about his opulences and how he is present everywhere and in everything, Arjuna is actually eager to see how Krishna is able to pervade everything and how Krishna is present everywhere. So let us see how this 11th chapter proceeds. So again, it has 4 sections. So this particular chapter is called Vishwarupa Darshana Yoga, and that is the universal form. We also frequently refer to that as the Virat Rupa form of the Lord. So this chapter begins with Arjuna asking a question. You remember this whole sequence was started in chapter 2 with Arjuna asking Krishna, I am confused, you please tell me what I need to do. And then from there, the conversation flows between Krishna and Arjuna. So here, the Lord actually shows his form, but from shlokas 5 to 14, the Lord himself will describe his universal form. Then Sanjaya will describe what he is seeing, and then Arjuna will describe what he is seeing. So hence, the description of the Vishwarupa or the Virat Rupa is happening from 3 perspectives: the Lord himself, Sanjaya, and then Arjuna. After Arjuna sees the Vishwarupa darshan, his mood changes. Excuse me. He begins to pray because he's never seen anything like this. And he begins to pray out of fear, out of reverence, because he's seeing something that he did not expect to see. Therefore, he asks the Lord to show his 4-handed form and then finally his original 2-handed form. So let's understand Arjuna's mood here when he says, Arjuna uvacha madanugrahaya paramam guhyam adhyatma samnitam yatvayoktam machastena moho yam vigato mama. Arjuna said, by my hearing the instructions you have kindly given me about these most confidential spiritual subjects, my illusion has now been dispelled. So in the second chapter, Arjuna is confused and bewildered, and therefore it was called lamentation. Sorry, the first chapter. Right. Then in the second chapter, Krishna has to establish his true identity as Atma, and therefore Atma Gyan is spoken about in the second chapter. So what is the duty of the Atma? There are two duties because the Atma is occupying the body. There is the Swadharma, which is on the bodily platform, and the Sanatana Dharma or Nitya Dharma, which is based on the spiritual platform. And Krishna says both duties must be performed. But to perform these duties, one needs knowledge. And therefore, Krishna talks about if you really want to understand what is the position of the Jivatma or the Atma, then one has to understand that the Jivatma is subservient always to Paramatma because they are in a master-servant relationship, which is the super soul and the soul. That is what is revealed in chapter 4. And Krishna also talks about how we must do karma, a karma rather. Because with karma, you will get pious results. With vikarma, you will get sinful results. And with akarma, you will get the results that take you back to Krishna. And if all of us are interested in going back to Krishna, then all of us must do a karma. So how do you go about performing a karma is what is covered in the 5th chapter. And the result of performing a karma is that you get peace of mind. You achieve that sense of peace. But in order to achieve that sense of peace, you have to learn how to control your mind. How can you have peace of mind if you don't know how to control the mind? Therefore, in chapter 6, Krishna talks about Dhyana Yoga. And then in chapter 7, Krishna defines what is bhakti, who should it be performed to, how, and why. And then in the 8th chapter, Krishna says, how do you come back to me? What's the guarantee that you can come back to me? Well, you have to remember me all the time. But most importantly, you have to remember me at death. Because whatever else you remember at the time of death, that for sure you will get in your next life. And the most confidential knowledge that Krishna talks about is pure bhakti. So chapter 9 is about Ananya Bhakti. If you perform pure bhakti, what does that look like? How do you surrender to the Lord? So that was the Raja Vidya Raja Guhya Yoga chapter. And in chapter 10, Krishna talks about his greatest opulence, which are his devotees. And he also talks about his opulence and how he is everywhere and in everything. So because Arjuna has been hearing these descriptions of the Lord, he now wants to see it. Therefore, he asks that, first of all, everything that you told me so far, Arjuna says, all of my illusion is gone. And you've been so kind, you have really educated me about all of these confidential topics on the spiritual side. But now, I am completely satisfied. I have accepted you as a Supreme Lord. My illusion is gone, but I want to see more. So in this particular shloka, you can see that Arjuna, through the process of surrender, after specifically hearing the 10th chapter, is convinced about the position of Krishna. So the question is, should we wait any longer, or do we still have doubts that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of God? Are we convinced or are we not convinced? Because certainly after Arjuna has heard everything that Krishna has said and responded to his queries and questions, Arjuna seems to be totally convinced. So the question is, are we convinced after reading the first 10 chapters at a very high level? So after Arjuna expresses his recovery from that amnesia type situation in chapter 2, he asks Krishna, Evam evametad tattvam atmanam parameshvara drashtumichami te rupam aishwaram purushottama. O greatest of all personalities, O supreme form, though I see you here before me in your actual position, as you have described yourself, I wish to see how you have entered into this cosmic manifestation. I want to see that form of yours. So Arjuna is expressing his interest in seeing what Krishna has described. So he wants to see a visual. He's heard the audio. But what do you glean from the shloka? It is actually Arjuna's humility. He is not making a demand. He is also not asking just for the sake of asking. He is genuinely wanting to see the Lord in his cosmic form. And because it's a genuine expression coming from a place of humility, Krishna obliges him. So what is it that we can understand from this? That humility has the quality of melting the heart of others and making a place for yourself in their heart, whereas pride creates a competitive spirit. So how does this pride create a competitive spirit? Let us look at the pastime of this Shanti Doot mission that Krishna was on, to try one last time to convince that the Kauravas should give at least 5 villages to the 5 Pandavas, and the Pandavas would be perfectly happy and satisfied. To which Duryodhana responds, not even a, what do you call it? Land covering a pinhead, I'm ready to give. So anyway, when Krishna comes there, Duryodhana has made grand preparations for Krishna, laid out a buffet, a banquet, and he's fully expecting to Krishna. He's fully expecting Krishna to come and honor and spend some time with him. But Duryodhana does not go out to personally receive Krishna when Krishna arrives. Rather, it is Krishna's pure devotee by the name Vidura who goes out to receive the Lord. You see, when you know that somebody is the Supreme Lord, and if you're a devotee, you'll be anxious, right? You'll be anxious to go and see the Lord, to receive him, make sure he's comfortable. Look at the mood of Duryodhana. He didn't go to greet the Lord. He was waiting for Krishna to come to him. So Vidura goes out to greet the Lord, and as they're walking, they pass house by house, palace by palace, and Krishna is asking, who stays here, who stays here, who stays here? And Vidura is very politely responding to him. Then finally, they pass by Vidura's house, and Krishna says, whose house is this? And do you know what is Vidura's response? Can you estimate what would Vidura's response have been? When Krishna asks, whose house is this? What do you think Vidura said? When Krishna asks Vidura, whose house is this? Yeah, so Vidura says, my dear Lord, this is your house. I am your servant, this is your house. So when Duryodhana invites Krishna to come for dinner, Krishna says, you don't have any love for me, and I am not hungry. The Lord only visits the devotee's house when he is hungry. What is he hungry for? He is hungry for your love and affection. And therefore, the Lord actually spends time that night in Vidura's house. Vidura's house was a simple house. It was not palatial. And Vidura's wife was so happy to see the Lord and so stunned to see the Lord. In the process of giving him bananas, she throws out the banana and gives him the peels. And Krishna very quietly accepts the peels and says, very delicious, very delicious. That Lord did the same thing for a very simple offering from Sudama. When Sudama comes to visit with the broken chipped rice, old chipped rice, the Lord put, a handful in his mouth and he said, oh, this is so delicious. And Lakshmi Devi Rukmini had to stop him saying, stop, don't have any more. Similarly, Shabari was offering bear. Bear is not considered to be the best of fruits. And she had tasted them to make sure that it was perfect for the Lord. And when the Lord accepted the bear, he said, oh, this is so delicious. So Duryodhana was very upset and very insulted that after he had prepared for a grand feast for Krishna, Krishna said, I am not hungry. What did Krishna mean by that? I am not hungry because you don't have any love for it. You don't have anything to offer to me. I actually go into houses to accept the love, not some artificial feast for me. So when Vidura sees his wife giving the Lord the peels of the banana, he scolds her. And he starts offering bananas to the Lord. The Lord said, no, I am completely full. I am full because of your love. I am not full because of the fruits. Your bhakti has filled me up and satisfied me. So wherever there is pride, Krishna does not exist. Wherever there is bhakti, you will find Krishna there. So you can imagine why Duryodhana felt insulted that Krishna had not come to his house. After all, he was the ruling king, de facto king at that time. So humility is a very important characteristic for a devotee. Pride will be the downfall of any devotee. Even in the spiritual path, one can experience a sense of pride, which is actually quite dangerous. So we cannot command the Lord, but by surrendering and devotion, we can earn his mercy. The Lord then gives himself to a devotee. So through surrender, we can reach the Lord. We can earn his attention. We can capture his attention. So that is the key. The key is surrender. Therefore, Krishna was only too happy to fulfill Arjuna's request. So why is Arjuna asking to see the cosmic form of the Lord? For two reasons. One is to increase the faith in those who may be faithless, who may think there is no God. How can there be God? Who is God? Maybe by reading the Bhagavad Gita, specifically chapter 11, they can be convinced that yes, Krishna is a supreme Lord and there is a personality as perfect and as all attractive as Krishna. So, because there are three people describing the cosmic form: Krishna himself, Sanjaya, and then Arjuna. So maybe by hearing these descriptions, the faithless may get a little bit of faith about Krishna's possession. So one is to increase the faith and give hope to those who may think the Lord is not there, who is the Lord, etc. And also, it is a test for fake gods. And what do we mean by this? There are many people who may be cheating others by saying, I am God, you worship me, I will give you the mantra, I am not any different than Krishna. Krishna and I are the same. So this is also a test to find out who is actually God and who is a cheater. So some people cheat us by saying that they are Bhagavan. So well, if they are Bhagavan, they should immediately be able to show you their cosmic form, which is what Krishna does here. So God is eternal, He is supreme, and we are eternally insignificant. So there is nothing that is going to happen that is going to increase our stature as a Jivatma. A Jivatma will always be in a subservient position to the Lord. And you're saying, oh Mataji, but just yesterday you told us that, the Lord said in Bhagavatam that I become the servant of my devotees. Yes, you have to be a pure devotee for the Lord to become your servant. But for us practicing devotees, we shouldn't even try to think that we can be God. We should just try our best to be a good devotee. Yeah. So when we try to become a good devotee, the Lord is very, very pleased with us. All we have to do is, we have to do our sadhana. We have to chant very nicely every day. Whatever rounds that we have committed, right? Whether it is 1 round or 2 rounds, whatever it is that we've got. Yeah. So this is the power of devotion. Let's come to the 7th shloka here. Because from here, Krishna is now saying, hey Arjuna, you see whatever it is that you want to see. So here in shloka 7, Krishna is saying, oh Arjuna, whatever you wish to see, behold at once in this body of mine. This universal form can show you whatever you now desire to see, whatever you may want to see in the future. Everything moving and non-moving is here completely in one place. So you can see how Krishna is again repeating that everything is here, present right before your eyes. Moving, non-moving, animate, inanimate, everything, whatever it is that you want to see, you are seeing it here. So Arjuna becomes a little perturbed by seeing this form. He has always had this friendly, two-handed, attractive Krishna. He has never seen this Virat Rup form of the Lord. So certainly it creates a little fear in Arjuna. So Arjuna, then bewildered and astonished, his hair standing on end, Arjuna bowed his head to offer obeisances and with folded hands began to pray to the Supreme Lord. So when you are in a fearful position, what does a devotee do? A devotee simply remembers Krishna. And here Arjuna was praying to the Lord. What can we learn from Arjuna's prayers? Arjuna says, my dear Lord Krishna, I see assembled in your body all the demigods and various other living entities. I see Brahma sitting on the lotus flower, as well as Lord Shiva, and all the sages and divine servants. So Arjuna is doing his best to describe what he is seeing, but Krishna has just occupied all of space. Therefore, at some point, Arjuna says, I'm not able to figure out which is the beginning, which is the middle, which is the end, because the whole sky is filled with the Virat Rup form of the Lord. And what is Arjuna saying? I am seeing Brahma inside you. Not only that, I'm also seeing Lord Shiva inside you. Not only that, all the great rishis and all of these divine servants, everybody I am seeing within you. So this is the mood in which Arjuna is actually witnessing the cosmic form. So he says, O Lord of the universe, O universal form, I see in your body many, many arms, bellies, mouths, and eyes, expanded everywhere without limit. I see in you no end, no middle, and no beginning. So you can see what Arjuna is actually experiencing in the Virat Rup form. You are without origin, middle, or end. Your glory is unlimited. You have numberless arms, and the sun and moon are your eyes. I see you with blazing fire coming forth from your mouth, burning this entire universe by your own radiance. So it is so bright that it is impossible for Arjuna to continue to keep his eyes open. The 28th shloka, Arjuna is saying, although you are one, you spread throughout the sky and the planets and all space in between. O great one, seeing this wondrous and terrible form, all the planetary systems are perturbed. Perturbed means disturbed. Arjuna is saying, I am not the only one who's disturbed by seeing this. The planets themselves are all wobbling and shaking. The inhabitants of the planets are all perturbed by seeing this, because Krishna has occupied all of space in just a matter of few seconds. And this wondrous sight that Arjuna describes, all the hosts of demigods are surrendering before you and entering into you. Some of them, very much afraid, are offering prayers with folded hands. Hosts of great sages and perfected beings, crying, all peace, are praying to you by singing the Vedic hymns. So Arjuna was not the one who was frightened, not the only one who was frightened. Even the sages are disturbed by what they are seeing. Even the devatas are disturbed by what they are seeing. And everybody is saying, my dear Lord, you please calm down. It reminds you of Prahlad Maharaj's pastime, when Lord Narsimha comes out of the pillar. Everybody is there. Brahma is there, Shiva is there, Lakshmi Devi is there, but none of them want to even touch or go anywhere near Narsimha Dev, because they are thinking, we have never seen this fierce form of the Lord before. Until Brahma tells Prahlad, see, he's come for you. You go pacify him. He didn't come for us. Because you are his great devotee, the Lord is going to be so pleased to see you. And so here Krishna is instructing Arjuna. So definitely Krishna recognizes that Arjuna is in a very difficult position again. He's anxious. Tasma tvamuttishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhungshva rajyam samriddham mayaivaite nihata purvameva nimitta matram bhava savyasachan. Here Krishna is saying, therefore get up, Arjuna. Prepare to fight and win glory. Conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Sabyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. So Krishna is saying, I have already reduced the lifespans of all of these people. I don't need you to reduce their lifespan. But I want to utilize you because you are my devotee. So devotee's role is to cooperate with the Lord. That's what the Lord wants. The Lord doesn't want you to compete with him. He wants you to cooperate with him. Because if you try to compete with him, then you are in a whole world of hurt. Therefore, Krishna is telling Arjuna, you get up, you fight. I'll be very happy when your victory is glorious. Yes, defeat your enemies, and after you've defeated them, enjoy your kingdom. Why? Because all these people on the battlefield, they're already put to death by my arrangement. And you, O Sabyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. Yeah. So this is the reason that Krishna does not stay with Duryodhana. Not only does Duryodhana not have any love for the Lord, but Duryodhana also insults Vidura. So when you insult the Lord's devotee, certainly the Lord is not going to spend time at your place. And hence Krishna is saying, I've already arranged for all these people to die. Be an instrument in my hands. So if you are obedient, you will follow my instructions. And my instructions to you are, get up, prepare to fight, and win all of the glory. Yeah. So when Duryodhana gets upset with Krishna for not coming and dining with him, and instead choosing his lowly uncle, who's not of pure lineage, Duryodhana tells everybody that the next day when Krishna actually comes to negotiate peace, he instructs everybody, do not respect Krishna. In the sense, when Krishna enters, nobody should get up. And furthermore, Duryodhana plots and says, when Krishna sits on his chair, the chair is going to topple over. And at that moment, we will arrest him. Because he is the single cause of this constant thorn in our side. He has been protecting the Pandavas again and again. So if we arrest Krishna, certainly we will be victorious. At least that's what the foolish Duryodhana was planning. So when Krishna enters the palace, everybody gets up out of respect. This only infuriates Duryodhana even more. He had specifically said that nobody should offer respect to Krishna because of how Krishna had insulted him by not dining with them. So Krishna is ready to sit on the seat. The seat is about to fall. And just as Duryodhana thought, okay, now is the time for us to arrest him, the Lord showed Duryodhana his cosmic form. And even after seeing this cosmic form, Duryodhana was not convinced that this was the Supreme Lord. So you can understand that the Lord's mood is, I will be where my devotees are. They may be living a very simple life and offer me simple meals, do the best that they can, but I would rather be with them than with those who have this strong sense of pride. So when Krishna leaves after showing his Virat Rupa form, nobody accompanies Krishna out the door except for Ashwatthama. So Krishna deliberately drops a ring from his hand onto the floor, onto the ground, and Ashwatthama immediately picks it up and hands it back to Krishna. So Shakuni, who is standing behind, he tells Duryodhana, see, this Ashwatthama already bending down to Krishna. You can't trust him. So association makes a big difference in how you conduct yourself. If you're surrounded by characters like Shakuni who are always goading you and trying to instill fear in you, trying to tell you that everybody is out to get you, then you end up doing a lot of adharmic things. So in that moment, when Duryodhana tries to arrest Krishna, in that moment, Krishna had already decided this chapter is ending for Duryodhana. He's not going to survive this war. Not only Duryodhana, but all the other soldiers who were on the wrong side, right side, it did not matter. But still, Duryodhana was so foolish, he actually thought he could win this war. So what is Krishna saying in the shloka? Nimitta matram, act as my instrument. The whole universe works under the command and supervision of Lord Krishna. In chapter 8, Krishna clearly said that this Maya Devi, she's my separated energy and she works under my command, under my instructions. So that means the whole universe is operating as per the Lord's instructions and desire. The purpose of creation of the universe is to correct us and establish our position as a servant. The only reason we have entered this material universe is to teach us a lesson that we are not the supreme controller or the enjoyer. We are just servant. Until we come to this realization that we are the servant, you have to follow this vicious cycle of birth and death. So, understanding the Lord's plan, start cultivating Krishna consciousness. So, we also want to be sure that we are on the right side of Krishna. This is the most intelligent thing we can do. And when we follow Krishna's instructions, then we are also instruments in his hands. Then Krishna can utilize us any which way he wants, for whatever purpose he wants. Yes. Then Arjuna, continuing with his prayers, because he has seen this cosmic form that he is unprepared to see, he says, Pitasi lokasya characharasya tvamasya pujyascha gurur kariyan natvat samostyabhyadhikah kutonyah lokatrayepya pratima prabhava. You are the father of this complete cosmic manifestation of the moving and the non-moving. You are its worshipable chief, the supreme spiritual master. No one is greater than you, nor can anyone be one with you. How then could there be anyone greater than you within the three worlds, O Lord of immeasurable power? So you see how Arjuna is glorifying Krishna as the Supreme One. Arjuna is saying there is nobody better than you. And there is nobody greater than you. After seeing this form, then Arjuna requests to see the four-handed form of Krishna and finally the Shama Sundara, the two-handed form that he's most comfortable with. So here in the 51st shloka, Arjuna uvacha drishtvedam manusham rupam tava saumyam janardana idanim asmi samrittaha sachetah prakritim gataha. When Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form, he said, "O Janardana, seeing this human-like form so very beautiful, I am now composed in mind and I am restored to my original nature." So whatever it is that Arjuna was unhappy about by seeing Krishna's cosmic form, he calms down when he actually sees Krishna in his original two-handed form. So what is the difference between the four-handed form of Vishnu and the two-handed form of Shamasundara? The Virat Rupa form and the four-handed form, these are temporary forms of Krishna. They exist as long as the cosmos exists, the material universe exists. Whereas the Shamasundara form is eternal. The four-handed form is like the Lord going to office, so he has to change his clothes and be in formal attire. And when somebody is in formal attire, it's a little harder to have a close relationship with them. When the Lord is in his two-handed form with just a simple piece of pitambar vastra, just a peacock feather on his head, then it is the Lord being at home. He's not formally dressed, he's quite relaxed. So the relaxed form of the Lord is Shamasundara. So when somebody is in formal attire, then there is a formality that you follow in interacting with them. So you cannot become intimate with them. You cannot have close connection with them. Whereas when somebody is very relaxed, then certainly you can develop a close relationship with them. It is not that you can't love someone who is in a formal attire. You can, but you maintain a respectful distance. Therefore, anybody who worships Lord Vishnu or Lord Narayana, they are actually worshipping the Lord with a great deal of respect and awe and reverence. Whereas anybody who's worshipping Lord Shyamasundara, they are actually filled with love for Krishna. The mood of service for somebody who's worshipping Lord Vishnu or Lord Narayana is, I am the servant, you are my master, I understand your position, I understand my position. So there is a formal relationship there. Whereas with Krishna, the mood is far more intimate. I can be your parent, you can be my child. I can be your friend, or I can be your lover. Therefore, there is more variety in devotional service when you are establishing a relationship with Krishna. Certainly, there is joy and peace when you worship Lord Vishnu or Lord Narayana. But there is infinite joy, unlimited, unending joy for you when you worship Krishna. So that is the difference between the four-handed form of Lord Vishnu or Narayana and the two-handed form of Shyamasundara, which is what Arjuna had always been comfortable with, because he had a more intimate relationship with Krishna here. And in conclusion, the last shloka of this particular chapter, which is the 55th shloka, the Lord says, Mat karma krin mat paramaha mat bhakta sangavarjitaha nirvairah sarva bhuteshu yasamam eti pandava. My dear Arjuna, he who engages in my pure devotional service, meaning ananya bhakti, nothing else but worshipping Krishna, free from the contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. So again, in this chapter as well, Krishna is ending on the note of bhakti. That person performing bhakti to Krishna, Krishna says they are already free from contaminations because I am their goal. They have made me the goal of their life. On the material side, we have so many goals, but Krishna is saying, why don't you prioritize me? Make me your goal. And if you make me your goal, Krishna says, you certainly will come back to me. There is no doubt about that whatsoever, Arjuna. So your friend may be very wealthy. You don't value his wealth. You value his friendship. Krishna is the wealthiest person in the universe because he owns everything. But those who worship him as Krishna don't value his wealth. They value his loving relationship with us. So the company of our beloved friend is more pleasant to us than his wealth. Similarly, the company of the Lord is much sweeter than his opulence. So Arjuna has seen or heard his opulence in the 10th chapter. He has seen Krishna's opulence in the 11th chapter. He doesn't care for Krishna's opulence. He is far more comfortable having that friendly, loving exchanges with Krishna. Therefore, Arjuna's mind is at peace again when the cosmic form is retracted. But the cosmic form is not permanent. It only exists as long as this material universe exists. But what is eternal is the two-handed Shyamasundara. So, with that, we'll come to the conclusion of chapter 11. If there are any questions, I'm happy to take that. You can raise your hand or post your questions in the chat. We can have a quick discussion. Hare Krishna. Any questions?
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Mataji, actually, like Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, right? Is the supreme personality, but uh, why do he had to show his like the reality to Duryodhana and Arjuna? We are the part and parcel of him. So why, like, what is the necessary of showing his that form?
Well, he shows it to Arjuna because Arjuna asks. And we just covered that in the slides, right? One is to establish faith for those people who may not have faith. But to Duryodhana, he wanted to give him one last opportunity. You better change the way you think and change the way you conduct yourself. If you try to arrest me and you still haven't realized that I'm the Supreme Lord, then you can be assured that death is coming your way. So you could say that that was the last warning for Duryodhana. It was the last wake-up call, but he was too caught up with bad association. Actually, it is said Duryodhana was a very good king.
Okay. But Mataji, like we all are human, we are living entities. So why, how can we have the different kinds of mentality, like type of Duryodhana and Arjuna?
You mean, how do we know whether we are Duryodhana or Arjuna? Is that what you're
Yes,
asking?
yes, Mataji.
Okay. Well, how do you know that you're Arjuna? You're not caught up in small things. You don't get distracted from Krishna very easily. Then you know you are in the mold of Arjuna, right? Your mood is to please the Lord. How do you know you are Duryodhana and going in the opposite direction? When you are challenging Krishna every step of the way and telling him, I don't trust you, I don't have faith in you, I would rather manage my life on my own, you please step out of the way. I want to enjoy myself a little bit longer. Then you know you're headed in Duryodhana's direction.
Mm.
When we are the center of our own universe, then I would say that is Duryodhana. When Krishna is the center of our universe, then we know we are in the mood of Arjuna. So the focus is different. Is the focus I, or is the focus the Supreme Lord?
Okay.
So you could say
Uh,
if your focus is the Supreme Lord, then there's nothing to worry about. Every now and then we may forget and try to be Duryodhana, but the Lord will always pull us back, just as he helped Indra recognize just in time that he had stepped out of boundaries.
okay. Mataji, I have one more question.
Yes.
Like, what is the use of like
What is the use of?
taking birth as human and like taking birth as human
What is the use
and
of?
playing the role as demon? Yes, Mataji. What is the use of like taking birth as human, and why do we act as Duryodhana and Arjuna?
Okay. The purpose of achieving a human life is to give you an opportunity to go back to Krishna. So Prabhupada frequently says that we should not waste this opportunity that we've been given, because human life is very rare and it's very precious, because we have the ability to discriminate between truth and untruth. We have the capacity to discriminate between truth and untruth, and what's right and what's wrong. We have the capacity and the knowledge to understand the difference between the body and the soul, etc. So, in that sense, the human life is very, very precious. It's very valuable. An animal does not care for these subject matters, but the human has this great ability to inquire about the truth. Therefore, human life is precious. Now, why do we become Arjuna or Duryodhana? Well, perhaps we become Arjuna because of the special mercy of devotees. Maybe somewhere we came in contact with some devotee who pulled us towards Krishna, right? And there are some people who pull us away from Krishna. So we have to be very conscious of who is helping us get closer to Krishna and who is actually separating us from Krishna. Yeah. So how many Brahmas and Indras we have in our life? You could look at it that way. To have people who say, come on, you're so young. What's the hurry to do all this bhakti? Enjoy yourself, don't worry. There are many people who will say that. Sometimes your own family may say that to you. This is not the time to perform bhakti. So we have to look out for the Duryodhana within us and the Arjuna within us. And we also have to look out for the Duryodhanas outside us who may be tempting you away from Krishna.
Okay, Mataji, like one more question, sorry. Like why do the negative energy it attacks us and we used to play as demon?
Why do negative energies attack us? Well, because we've not strengthened ourselves internally. So if you strengthen yourself and develop that resilience by having faith in Krishna, you wouldn't feel the same way. How do you develop immunity to diseases? By taking care of your health, right? So similarly, how do you develop immunity towards material diseases? By taking care of your spiritual health. So if you take care of your spiritual health, you need not worry about material attacks. You can overcome them very easily. Or you can also ignore them and stay focused on Krishna. So you have to do what strengthens you spiritually and stop doing what weakens you spiritually. So the discriminatory power will come the deeper we go into Krishna consciousness. It becomes easier to understand, okay, somebody is just trying to play around with you, and you shouldn't take them too seriously.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Okay, there is a question. Is it possible to not have the same love for Krishna and his other forms? I did not understand. So are you saying, can I have a relationship with Krishna and also all the Vishnu avatars simultaneously and be in different modes? Is that what you're asking? Tulamoni, you have to clarify your question. So is the question, can I have two different modes towards two different avatars of the Lord? So in the sense, you may think Krishna is my son, but when you look at Narasimhadev, you think, here Vishnu is my master. Can I have both those moods? Yeah, definitely. Is it contradictory? Maybe. But our focus is on Krishna. There's no difference between Krishna and Narasimha. It's just that the purpose for which the different avatars come are different, right? Therefore, they evoke different moods. I mean, what mood do we have towards Kurma avatar? We can't even imagine having any particular mood toward Kurma avatar, right? Can we? But you certainly can have a mood towards Lord Ram, Lord Krishna, Lord Narayana. You can certainly have a mood there. What about the Matsya avatar? Can you have any mood? We're not able to grasp that. Okay? See, our moods will vary with the different avatars of the Lord. That's only natural because we are in human form and we think and feel and experience emotions as a human. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Is it possible to sing hymns by seeing his Virat Rupa? Because we ask him to give darshan, but when he gives darshan, our brain tends to stop. So your question is, how is Arjuna able to glorify the Lord when he's in a terrified state? Maybe that is your question. Because the minute you see a form of the Lord that you're not able to grasp, then you will be silent. You'll be in such shock that you'll not be able to speak. But probably here, Arjuna is given remembrance by the Lord of his two-handed form still. Therefore, he is able to speak and at the same time glorify the Lord. And he also feels, I've been too casual with you. I've had a very casual relationship with you. I really did not know that you are such a great personality. So sometimes a pure devotee can also take the Lord for granted occasionally. Okay, nice question. How can we deal ourselves and maintain same calmness when we are away from the Lord seva due to some material reasons? Well, the question is, are the material reasons under your control at this time or not? If you can change the material situation, then you should do your best to do that. If you are not in a position to change, then just be patient. For one day, certainly you will have the opportunity to lead the life that you really want to lead. So sometimes you just have to be patient. Yeah. Just like Mother Sita patiently waited for the Lord. Always praying, always ready for the Lord to come. So you have to have that kind of patience. That yes, one day I will worship the Lord the way I want. But the anxiety that you have to having that kind of relationship with the Lord is itself such a sweet thing. You are having that anxiety. That means you're making progress. You're thinking why I cannot be a better devotee. Why am I being stopped from doing things that I really want to do? That's really nice because your love for the Lord is intensifying. So nothing wrong with that. Many great devotees have always spoken in their glorifications, my dear Lord, when am I going to be serving your lotus feet all the time? When is this mind going to be, dragged to your lotus feet? They pour out their feelings to the Lord saying, when are you going to do that? I was hearing a wonderful Maharaj giving a lecture the other day. Somebody was asking Maharaj a question saying, why am I not able to feel anything for the Lord? I've been chanting for some time. I don't feel anything. And Maharaj told him, why don't you go in front of the Lord and say, hey, why don't you show yourself to me, so that I can develop some feeling towards you. You do so many other mystical things. Why don't you allow me to experience you as you are? So Maharaj was saying, why don't you have a conversation like this with the Lord and see where it takes you, instead of simply just saying, oh, I'm chanting, but I'm not getting taste. I'm not seeing any difference. I don't know. I don't know if I really love the Lord or not. Maharaj was saying, yeah, intensify your conversation with the Lord. After all, he's your friend. So have an honest conversation saying, hey, friend, when are you going to show yourself to me? When am I going to have that kind of love for you that I'd like to have? But somehow I'm not able to capture that feeling right now. So whatever issues you have with the Lord, go to the Lord himself. That is the mood of the devotee. Go and complain to the Lord, saying, what are you doing to me? I'm not able to experience much. I don't think I'm advancing at all. Why is it so difficult to experience you? Okay. All right, any other questions? I am chanting Hare Krishna mantra, still my mind is not anxiety free. Is there any problem in chanting it properly? I heard this wonderful instruction. In the beginning, when you chant, you're chanting with your lips. You have to come to the stage where you're chanting with your mind. Because you're only chanting with your lips, your mind is still anxious. But in the beginning, that's what all of us will be experiencing. We are chanting with our lips. We are not chanting with our mind. When your mind is always chanting the holy names of the Lord, you will not experience anxiety. So you simply have to increase your chanting to get to that state. But initially, we are chanting with our lips. We need to chant with our mind. Then all anxiety will disappear. Okay. All right. Nice question. Why is Durvasa Muni always portrayed as being so angry? Shouldn't great sages be able to control anger? Great sages are great for many reasons. Great sages are not great just because our expectation of perfection is imposed on them. They are great in so many other ways. It was Durvasa Muni who, after all, benedicted Srimati Radharani with an opportunity to cook for Krishna. It's just that we've heard pastimes of Durvasa Muni where he gets angry. Durvasa Muni is considered to be an Amsha of Lord Shiva. I was hearing, how Ravana worshipped Lord Shiva to get the power that he got. But that same Lord Shiva came as Hanuman and burnt his city up. So it is our own mood that is reflected in how we interface with others and also with the Lord. Durvasa Muni is not an ordinary personality. He had great power. Why is he portrayed as being angry? Just to show that devotees also are multifaceted, right? They are not these perfect machines that perfectly love Krishna. So devotees also have their frailties. So there is nothing wrong in it. That doesn't make them any less of a devotee. Remember, Krishna says, my devotees never perish. Declare it boldly, Arjuna. So it's not that Durvasa Muni is not a he is not a devotee of the Lord. He may not be a pure devotee of the Lord, but certainly he is a devotee of the Lord. The Lord, if he was so upset, he could have corrected Durvasa Muni and told him, you please check your anger at the gate before you even come to see me. But the Lord is very, very, very kind. He's just, I don't know, what is the word to use? Bindas. Nothing bothers him. I'm sure you've heard that Bhrigu puts his feet on the chest of the Lord, and the Lord wakes up and he says, oh, I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. I didn't greet you. I didn't realize you were here, and you stepped on my chest. My chest is such a hard-hearted, hard place. Are you sure your feet are okay? That is the mood of the Lord. So sweet, never insulted. And that's when Bhrigu Muni decides, yes, so Vishnu is the Supreme Lord, because Shiva gets angry and Brahma gets angry also when he tests them. Yes, so that means Vishnu is in Sattvagun, Shuddha Sattvagun. So there is a pastime about that. So the Lord never reacts to others, his devotees' anger. He's still sweet about it. should all great sages be able to control their anger? No, that's not the reason why they are great sages. There are many reasons. It was just a test. See, that is why I'm saying the Lord did not take it as a insult that Bhrigu Muni put his feet on the Lord's chest. For us, we would have been terrified to even think about it. It was just a pastime to demonstrate that the Lord never is insulted. Correct. But the Lord gets furious when his devotees are not taken care of nicely. That is for sure. All right. Any other questions? Otherwise, we can end the session here. Vancha kalpatarupyascha kripasindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Shri Shri Gauranga ki jai. Hare Krishna devotees, thank you very much. Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna
Hare
Mataji.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. How is Prabhuji?
He will be most likely going to the hospital tomorrow, but surgery will probably be on Wednesday, I think. So we'll keep you all posted how things go. Yeah. But thank you again for
Hare
all of your
Krishna
concern and
Mataji.
prayers. Yeah. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavati Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhupada.